Once again, you are welcome to waidusmacademy. Hello. Once again, you are welcome to waidusmacademy. Is it recording? Once again, you are welcome to waidusmacademy, and today we are looking at biology paper 441 2018. Okay, without much ado, let's quickly move to the questions. Question 1 says, okay, it said the reactions of chemical digestions are catalyzed by enzymes. Question 1, Roman figure, question 1a, it said the reactions of chemical digestions are catalyzed by enzymes. Figure 1.1 shows the stages of an enzyme catalyzed reaction. So you can see an enzyme. This is an enzyme. This one you see is an enzyme. And this place is an active site. This place is an active site. This is a substrate. This A is a substrate. You know, remember a substrate has to fit into an active site in order for the enzyme to help in the breakdown of the food. So look at how the food substrate fits into the enzyme for the breakdown. See, eventually it's broken down into smaller pieces. The food particle has been broken down into smaller pieces. So this is what it is in the digestive system. How the enzymes helps in breaking down the food. So the first one, they want us to label A, B, C, D. So we go through it again. A, like we said, A is what? Substrate. So we be writing on, I think it will be faster writing on our whiteboard. Okay, we'll be faster writing on our whiteboard. So we say A, question 1. Question 1A. Okay, Roman figure 1. We should list all the letters. A is what? A is a substrate, right? A is substrate. Look at it. This A is what? Substrate. So we write A just a moment. A something went wrong. Just a moment, okay? Okay, now I got it back. A is what? Substrate. Substrate. So what is B? Now we look at B. Substrate. Substrate. That's A, okay? Now what is our B? We go back and see. B is what? B is active site, right? Because that's where the substrate fit in. So B is active site. B is active site. This is where the substrate fits in. Active site. That's where the substrate fits in for the chemical digestion to take place, for the enzyme to catalyze and helps to break the food. So that's the active site where the substrate fits in. So we write active site. So C is what? Let's go and see what C looks like. C is what? It's enzyme substrate complex. It's called enzyme because both the enzyme, remember this is enzyme. Look at it. This is enzyme substrate complex. Enzyme, because you see the way they use this to show the whole, and they say everything here is C. So it's called enzyme substrate complex. C is enzyme substrate complex. Substrate complex. Enzyme substrate complex, because it involves both the enzyme, the active site, and the substrate all put together. So we call it enzyme substrate complex. Enzyme substrate complex. So that's C. Now what is our D? What's our D? What's our D? Let's go back to our D is what? Digested food, or you call it the product, because the product is what comes out from, okay? We call it the product. D is a product. Product. Products. Okay, then that's it. We've identified A to D. That we get 4 marks for doing this. Now we go to the B part of the question. The B part of the question says we should explain the importance of chemical digestion. The importance of chemical digestion. First of all, it helps to produce smaller soluble molecules, or smaller soluble molecules. Chemical digestion helps to produce smaller soluble molecules. That's the first one. So we need to give about, it's 2 marks, right? We can give 2 points. Or except they mention how many we should give them. You see, explain the importance of chemical digestion. Okay. So chemical digestion help us to get smaller soluble molecules. Smaller, because the whole essence of digestion is to get smaller molecules, right? Break the complex food into smaller units, so, and that are soluble, okay? The insoluble one will be taken out as physics, okay? Smaller soluble molecule. That's the number 1 big deal we get for chemical digestion. You know, physical digestion or mechanical digestion, like using your feet to break down the food, it only help to reduce the size, right? But probably not soluble yet at that stage. So when chemical digestion takes place, like enzyme out of the food, digestive enzyme out of the food, then you begin to get what we call the soluble molecules, smaller soluble molecule. That's one thing we get from chemical digestion, or that's one importance of chemical digestion. So you can just say it helps us to obtain smaller soluble molecules. But because it's 2 marks, this point is not enough for you to get the 2 marks. So we must now talk about absorption. So we say chemical digestion helps with the absorption of the soluble molecule. Okay, so we can measure that it helps in the absorption, chemical digestion, facilitate, you can say facilitate the absorption of the digested food. Facilitate or helps the food to move through the small intestine. Helps the food to move through the small intestine into the blood. You can say facilitate absorption of food, meaning it helps quickly for the absorption. Facilitate the absorption of the food. Absorption of food molecules. Okay, absorption of food molecules into the bloodstream. So since it's 2 marks, I think 2 points is sufficient. 2 good points is sufficient to earn 2 marks. If a question is 1 mark, 1 point is enough to earn the mark. If a question is 4 marks, it means you have to give 4 points. So we're done with this. We move to the next question. Okay, the next question says question C says figure 1.2 shows the human alimentary canal and associated organs. Figure 1.2 is showing the human alimentary canal and associated organs. Now the functions of some of this part of this body are given in table 1.1. Okay, so the functions are given in table 1.1. Here is table 1.1. It's a complete table 1.1. One row has been done for you. Here is the function. Here is the letter from the figure 1.2, and here is the name of the structure. So they've given us, the one has been done for us, this one, roll number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, row number 6. Okay, so we have storage of feces. They say letter from, this is F, and the name of the structure is rectum. So storage of feces is where? F, letter F, and is rectum. This place is rectum. So they want us to give the letter. If they give a function, we give the letter, okay, from this human alimentary canal. They give a function, we give the letter, and we give the organ, probably the organ. Okay, so let's start. Site, the first one is the site of digestion, starch digestion. Site of starch digestion. Which letter, let's go and look, which letters are site for starch digestion, and then we give the names of the letters, the names. Okay, starch digestion starts from the mouth. The starch digestion starts from the mouth. It happens in the mouth and in the small intestine. The mouth and the small intestine. So I think we go to letter for mouth, letter A. Okay, letter A, and letter small intestine, you start to have letter what? Starting from letter J and letter E. J and letter E. So site for starch digestion, so we say letter A, J, and E. So site for starch digestion, we say letter A, J, and E. So we make a table. We just show the functions. This question C. This question C. Okay, so this is the function, right? They give us the function. We're not going to write the function because it's a lot. We just say the functions. Functions. So we'll just read the functions from the question paper. Okay. And then we say letters. Letters. And then we measure the organs. Letters. And here we measure the organs. We measure the organs or tissue if it's a tissue, or cells or group of cells, whatever it is. Okay, even if it's a system we measure, but they are usually organs. Okay, so the first one is a site for starch digestion. So starch. So I just write starch. Where does it digest? Where does the digestion take place? We say letter A, which is the mouth, and letter J, which is the beginning of the small intestine, and letter E. So A, J, and E. A, J, and E. So the letter A, which organ it is, we say mouth. We say mouth. And letter J and E, we can just write small intestine. Small intestine. Mouth and small intestine. So that's for this first part. We go to the second one, small intestine. So that's where starch digestion. You wonder we didn't mention the stomach. Stomach is for protein digestion. Okay. So mouth, small intestine, the digestion of starch starts from the mouth and ends in the small intestine. Digestion of starch starts from the mouth and end in the small intestine. Now the next one, we look at the question, we look at the next one. So from the question, reabsorption of water. Reabsorption. Not just absorption of water. Reabsorption of water normally happens in the small intestine, large intestine, and rectum. Okay, it happens in the small intestine. It happens in the small intestine, large intestine, and rectum, right? So we say reabsorption of water. Reabsorption reabsorption. So we just write only reabsorption. Reabsorption of water. Reabsorption of water. Reabsorption of H2O. Water is H2O. So reabsorption of water. So it happens in where? Reabsorption happens of water in the beginning of the small intestine, in the ileum, duodenum, okay, J, and then which is the duodenum, the ileum, which small intestine. It happens in the, it also happens in wait, let's see the diagram again. It also happens in the large intestine. H is large intestine, E is small intestine. So from J, E, H, and F in the rectum. F is rectum, H is large intestine. So it happens in the large intestine. It happens in also F. Okay, reabsorption of water happens in all these stages in the alimentary canal. Okay. So here we say small intestine, the organs, small intestine, small intestine, small intestine for J and E, that's the intestine, and then the H is the large intestine, The H is a large intestine, or what you call the colon, large intestine. Okay, let's just use arrow because it's both intestine. And then F is the rectum, right? Rectum. Rectum. The last place for the feces before we defecate. Rectum. Okay, so we've answered the second one. We've answered the second one. Now we go to another function that is given in the question paper. And we begin to look at the possibilities, the organs, and the... So let's take a look at the question. Which next function they give? Secretion of Pepsi. Secretion of Pepsi. Now let's look at the diagram. Which organ is capable of doing that? Secreting Pepsi. Pepsi are type C, you remember? They are in where? They are in the stomach, right? Although type C is in the beginning of the small intestine, but Pepsi is secreted in the stomach. Remember, the digestive juice and the Pepsi, they're secreted in the stomach for the digestion of protein. The type C is in the small intestine for fatty food. Okay? Type C is in the small intestine for fatty food. So the secretion of Pepsi is in the stomach. It happens in letter C. So which letter? Only letter C. So here, the secretion of Pepsi is C. So the letter is just C. So we write the third one, we write secretion of Pepsi. So we just say secretion of Pepsi. So which letter is C in the stomach? Pepsi is letter C. So what does it do? Where? Stomach. Which place? Is in the stomach. Is in the stomach. It takes place in the stomach, right? It takes place in the stomach. Now let's see the next function they want us to deduce. The next function is site of maltose digestion. Site of maltose digestion, meaning where does it take place? Where does maltose digestion take place? Where does maltose digestion take place? So I'll just write maltose digestion. Maltose digestion. Maltose digestion. So where? Site of maltose digestion. Where does it take place? Maltose. So we go to the diagram and find maltose where its digestion is taking place. Let's see. Maltose digestion. Maltose is in the small intestine. Okay, the digestion is in small intestine. Okay, so because we are dealing with chemical digestion, so it's in the small intestine. Whatever is happening in the A is just a mechanical digestion, mostly. And the chemical digestion with the secretion of saliva is not for maltose. Okay, so for maltose, it's J, the small intestine, and E. The J is the duodenum, and just the beginning of the small intestine, and E is the full small intestine. So it's taking place in J and E. So site for maltose digestion is in J and E. So if you're able to do all this, you see what you get, J and E. So which organ is the J and E for maltose digestion? Site for maltose digestion, of course, small intestine. So we call them small intestine. Small intestine. Small intestine. Small intestine. Okay, so that's that for that question. Now let's move on to the next one. Let's move on to the next one. This is not W, this is Roman figure 4. Okay, so we'll move on to the next one. Which next function do we have on the paper? It's a secretion of bile. Bile, you know, it happens in the gallbladder and the liver, right? Secretion of bile happens in the gallbladder and in the liver. So let's find the letter that represents gallbladder and liver from the figure. Let's find the letter that represents gallbladder and liver. Okay. This K is the liver. The gallbladder is L. This one. The gallbladder is L and K is the liver. So these are the two letters. So we go back to our board. We write first of all number 5. Side for number 5. We say side for secretion of bile, right? Secretion of bile happens in the gallbladder and in the liver. Secretion. You know, bile helps in the emulsification of fat. Emulsification of fat. Okay, helps to help in the breakdown of fat into fatty acid and glycerol. Okay, secretion of bile is in, we say, is in letter what? K and L. We say letter K and L. We can write them like this, or we write them vertical. K is for, like we saw just now, one is for the liver and the other one is the gallbladder. So we just write liver and then we also write gallbladder. Liver, we also write horizontal and, okay, say and gallbladder. And gallbladder. So secretion of bile is in liver, it happens in the liver and gallbladder. Okay, we should keep that in mind. We should keep that in mind. Now let's go to another functionality. Another functionality in the question, we say storage of feces. Storage of feces. I think it's in the, oh, they've done this for us in the rectum. I wanted to say it's in the rectum. I remember they've done this one. So they've done this for us. So we skip that, right? Storage of feces is in the, is F and rectum. The secretion of lipase and trypsin. This is in small intestine, right? Secretion of lipase and trypsin. Let's see where that takes place. Okay, we write it here first. Okay, let's even write the one they've done for us. Storage of feces. Storage of feces. Storage of feces is happening in F, right? In the rectum. The organ responsible for it is called rectum. Okay, then the last one, they said, let's see what that question was. The last one is a secretion of lipase and trypsin. Secretion. That one is happening in the pancreas. Secretion. Just the pancreas is just before the small intestine. Secretion of lipase and trypsin. Secretion of lipase and trypsin. It takes place in where? In the pancreas. So let's go look for pancreas in the diagram. It takes place in the pancreas. So let's look for pancreas. Which letter stands for pancreas? This place. Before this is the duodenum. Before you enter the main part of the small intestine, it's also considered the entrance of the small intestine, the duodenum. This letter J. Okay, but before you enter this place, there is something that looks like a small liver. Okay, it's called the pancreas. This letter D looks like the pancreas. So that's the one that's secreting the lipase, and it's also the one that is secreting the lipase and the trypsin. So the letter is D, and the name is called pancreas. So if you have problem with pancreas, if your pancreas has problem, you will not be able to secrete the enzyme called lipase, and you will not be able to secrete the enzyme called trypsin. So what that implies is that you have problem digesting fatty food, and you also have problem digesting the remaining protein that didn't finish their digestion in the stomach, because the trypsin is to finish up what the Pepsi could not finish in the stomach. So in the small intestine, the trypsin is to finish what the Pepsi did not finish. Okay, both of them, they are called proteins. Both the Pepsi and the trypsin, they are called the proteins. So they are protein digestive enzymes. So it means if you have problem with your pancreas, you would have problem finishing your digestion in the small intestine for both protein food and the fatty food, fat and oil food, because the lipase is to digest the fat and oil food in the small intestine. So you have a lot of problem. You have a lot of cholesterol problem. You have diabetes problem, and so on and so forth. Okay, so now let's move to the next question. I think we finished this question. But we have some letters that were not used, like G. But I don't think they're part of this. So we get 6 marks for doing this. And for the whole question 1, we get 12 marks all together. Okay, 4, 2, 6. So we get 12 marks for question 1. I think this brings us to the end of question 1. Now we go to question 2. Right? We go to question 2. Okay? So we hope you all get that question. Now let's take a look at the first. Let's take a look at the first part of question 2. Let's take a look at the first part of question 2. Is a adaptive fictions are defined as the inherited fictions of an organism that increase its fitness. State what is meant by fitness in this context. What is fitness? It's just 1 mark, so we just need 1 sentence. Okay? The question says again, adaptive features are defined as the inherited features of an organism that increase its fitness. Say what is meant by fitness in this context. Fitness, adaptivity has something to do with being able to survive in a place, being able to live in a place, being able to survive for food, fight for food, get food, and survive and live, and you don't die in the place. So fitness in this context is the probability of survival and reproduction. So for you to be able to be fit in this context, it means probability of survival. Okay, question 2A. So fitness in this context will definitely represent probability. So probability, I just write PRO. Probability of survival. Okay, because for you to survive, you have to be fit. Probability of survival and reproduction. You have to be fit in order to survive. Okay, so fitness in this context we ordinarily mean the probability of survival, because we are talking about adaptation. Okay, probability of survival and reproduction. So I think that in itself will generate your 1 mark. And reproduction. So when you are able to survive, you will be able to reproduce. When you're able to survive, survival in this context will include your food, your being able to stay away from predators, okay, that will kill you. So, and be able to get food and water and every necessary thing that you need. So probability of survival and reproduction is the fitness contest for these questions, this question as it were. Okay, that's that for that. Let's go to the second part. We say rodents. We say rodents are the most common mammals in many hot deserts. Rodents are the most common mammals in many hot deserts. Now figure 2.1 shows the lesser Egyptian jaguar, that's Jaculus jaculus. That's the botanical name or the scientific name. Jaculus jaculus. Okay, it's called Egyptian jaguar. Jaculus jaculus, which lives in the North Africa and in the Middle East, in areas that have high daytime temperatures and very little rainfall. So this Yugoshoko, this rodent, lives in Egypt and any Middle East country, any Middle Eastern countries, and places where you have very high temperature during the day and little rainfall. Okay, so this rodent can survive there. Now let's see what, so like many desert living mammals, jaguars are active at night. They're very active at night. Now suggest 2 features of Jaculus jaculus, that's these jaguars. These 2 features of Jaculus jaculus that adapt it to each of the following challenges of living in the desert ecosystem. Very high day temperature. So what could be one of the features it needs to have in order to survive very high day temperature? Which one feature you think it should have in order to survive in very high day temperature? You know, they stay underground in the burrow. You know, we say burrow. Rat or rodent, they dig the hole underground. They live underground. Okay? So one of the features to survive very high day temperature is a burrow underground. So we say the burrow underground. B Roman figure 1. Rodents like this nature, they live underground during the hot day temperature, during the hot day. So we say burrow underground. No, that's one feature. So let's find another feature, because we have to, the number of features we write depends on the number of marks. So if the marks is 2, we just write 2 points. If the burrow underground. If the marks is 4 marks, we have to write 4 points. If the marks, so it depends on the marks. Burrow underground. Okay, that's number 1 feature. Okay, we say burrow underground. Another feature, that means if they dig hole underground and then they live there. They dig hole underground and then they live there. They stay in the shade also. You can say stay in the shade. They stay inactive. During the day they are inactive and they sleep. Okay, they have white color. You know, white does not absorb a lot of heat and light. So the white or pale color or yellow color, they're not black. They're not black. So one of the features that enable it to survive during the day is that they have what we call white or light color. White, you know what white does, right? We know what white does, right? In terms of emission and absorption of heat energy. Okay, meaning it absorbs lesser heat. White or pale color or yellow color, anything that is not black or shiny black, pale color or yellow color, this enables it to survive the heat. Okay, this enables it to survive the heat. We say they stay in there, they also stay in the shade. So burrow underground, you can say also shady, stay in the shady area. Okay, apart from burrowing underground, they stay in shady areas. So to avoid the sparkly heat. Okay, we can just say stay in shades to avoid the space. Okay, so let's see how many marks. If it's 2 marks, I think we're good to go. Yeah, it's 2 marks. But there are many features of adaptivity. They have long tail, short life for. They have 4 in their body to prevent so much heat from getting to their body, and so on and so forth. Okay. They have large ear and so on and so forth. There's so many things you can see. You look at the animal, they have antennas. Just look at it. They have antennas which help them to sense their directions and so on and so forth. They have long tail. So even if you don't know it, just look at the animal and you can at least say something meaningful. They have long tails which help them to find whatever is coming from their behind. Okay, they're able to quickly sense what is coming from their behind. Okay, and so on and so forth. So, and they have long, you can mention this, they have long legs which make their body not touch the ground. They don't crawl on the hot desert. So their body is raised above the ground, the hotness. So the heat of the hot desert do not touch their body. Only their toes they use, and their toes they are designed to be able to withstand. So you measure, but for the exam we only need 2. So 2 points are good enough. Just look at the animal. Now the next one is that we're going to also to suggest 2 features of the Jaculus that adapts it to each of the following, right? To each of the following, each of the challenges of living in the desert ecosystem. This time around, we're looking at very little or no ray at night. No light, okay. Very little or no light at night. So what are the features that helps it to survive? This is B Roman figure 2. What are the features? What are the features that helps it to survive? They have very big eyes. They have very big eyes. You look at the animal, you can see that they have very big eyes. So they are able to, they have big cornea. You know the cornea? Cornea helps you for the sight. Cornea is the lens Almighty God put in your eyes. When the lens has problem, then the medical will give you glass to help you. They will give you a lens, an artificial lens, to help to correct or to help in the correction of the cornea. So cornea is like the natural lens. So this animal, they have big lens, they have big cornea. So we can say they have big cornea, so they have good eyesight. So they have big cornea. Okay, they have big cornea. And so because of that, we can say hence they have good eyesight. They have what? Good eyesight. So we can say slash good eyesight. Good eyesight. So you can see one of the way they're able to survive at night where there is no much light. Good eyesight. That's one of their characteristics. That's one of their characteristics. So you must be confident enough. Some of these questions you just need ordinary exposure to answer. You don't have to be scared and say, I don't know. Some things you are exposed enough to answer them. Some things you just look at it, the diagram, and you're able to say something. Right? Another thing that they have is that the whiskers. The whiskers. They have these characteristics, okay? And then another thing they have that helps them survive where there is no much light is that they have large ear. That's they have good sense of hearing. Just like they have big eyes, they have large ear. So even if they're not seeing properly at night, they can hear any slightest thing like this they can hear. So we say they have large ear for hearing at night. Large ear. Large ear for hearing. Large ear for hearing. So this is another characteristic of this jaculus that survives in the Middle East, in the North Africa and in the Middle East. They have large ear for hearing. Remember, it's just 2 marks, so 2 points is good enough. So we'll move to the next question. We've got it 4 marks altogether from here. We'll go to C. Okay, C here. Probably they want us to do this pyramid. Okay. Question C is that a scientist studied communities. A scientist studied communities in different parts of a desert and estimated the biomass of the organisms in each area. He divided the organisms into 4 groups according to their roles in the food webs as shown in table 2.1. According to their roles in the food web, okay, as seen in table 2.1. The retrievers are animals that eat dead organisms or parts of organisms. Now, table 2.1 shows the group of organisms in the food webs and their biomass per meter square, gram per meter square. Now, the producers is 480 gram per meter square. The herbivores is 220 grams per meter square. The retrievers is 120 grams per meter square, and carnivores is 40 grams per meter square. So you can see the producer will be at the base of the pyramid, which is 480. Okay, 480, which is way bigger than the herbivores. So the herbivores and the retrievers have been put together. The herbivores and the retrievers put together will be 340, right? So it will be 340. So occupy this part. Then the carnivore is just 40, which will be here, which will be drawn here. Okay? So this is a use the information in the table 2.1 to complete the pyramid of biomass. So it's just for us to draw that of the carnivore, right? It's just for us to draw that of the. So we have to add a block to the top of the pyramid that is 4 times smaller than the ordinary one. That this one, something that is 4 times smaller than this. So this one we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, half year, 7. So out of this 7, 4 times smaller will be almost just something here like this. Okay, we just draw a block here. Just draw a block here that will represent 40, which is the carnivores. Okay, so that's that for this question. We get our 2 marks. Okay, now we move on to the scientists observe the retrievers and decided to include them with the herbivores in this pyramid of biomass? You remember herbivores? Herbivores, they eat what? They eat plants. They eat plants, right? They don't eat animals. But the tetrivore, they eat dead organisms. The organisms could be plants or animal, right? Any dead organisms. Okay. But the scientists group them together in this pyramid of biomass. Suggest what the scientists discovered about the tetrivores that made him to make this decision. What has informed the scientists? What informed the scientists to carry out or to make this decision? Okay, what must have made the scientists to do this? So one of the reasons that would have made the scientists to carry out or make this informed decision could practically be, see Roman figure 1, I say just add the carnivore in the pyramid of biomass, just something like this on top of the herbivores and the carnivores. Sorry, on top of the herbivores and the tetrivores. Remember we can even make a pyramid here. This was for herbivores and the tetrivores. This is for herbivores and the tetrivore, and this was for the producers. Okay, so here is producer, I just put P. Here is herbivores and the tetrivores. So we just write H and D. H and D. And here is carnivores. We write C. Okay, so this is the biomass. Now pyramid of biomass. Now we go to the C part. C Roman figure 2. C Roman figure 2. He said we should give a reason why the scientists must have done this. So why he must have done this could be that the tetrivore, they eat mainly plant producers. They eat the tetrivores. The tetrivores probably eat the tetrivores because for them to be grouped with herbivores, it means probably, even because they just say they eat dead organisms. They didn't say the organisms were animals or plants. So for the scientists to have grouped them with herbivores, it means they eat mainly dead plants. Eat mainly dead producers. Plants are producers. Mainly dead plants. You can say dead plants or producers. Dead plants as the organisms that they were referring to / producers. So this could be one of the reasons. Depends on the number of marks. The mark is 1, at this point is enough. But if the mark is 2, we have to give another reason. So let's see. Okay, it says suggest, right? 1 mark. So I think this point is valid enough. They feed at second trophic level as the primary consumers. See, another point. They feed at, so I'll just write the tetrivore, feed at the second trophic level. Feed at second trophic level. Second trophic trophic level. They feed at the second trophic level. So that's why they are just the primary consumers. They are just primary consumers. So because they are primary consumers, they fit into this group. So let's move to the next question. It's just 1 mark. 1 point is enough. Okay, we go to C Roman figure 3. Explain why there are rarely more than 4 or 5 trophic level in ecosystem. Why do we barely have more than 4 or 5 trophic level? Okay, you know why? Little energy is transferred from one level to the other. You know, it's about just 10%. So out of all the energy here, if you have 100, if you have 1 million, let's say if I have 1 million or 100,000 joules of energy, only 10% will be transferred to the next level. If I have 100,000 joules of energy, if you have 100,000 joules of energy, we did this in our class. We did this in our class last time. If we have 100,000 joules of energy, if I have 100,000 joules of energy, only 10% will be transferred here. So 10% of 100,000 will be what? 10% will be 1,000, right? Yeah, 20,000 is 20%. So 10% will be 1,000. So the next energy level will just be 1,000. Then the reason why, we're explaining the reason why usually we don't have more than 4 or 5 trophic level in pyramid of biomass or pyramid of biomass. Now, only 10% will be transferred from this second trophic level to the third one. So 10% of 1,000 will be what? 100, right? 100 joules. So by the time you are having another 10% in the next level, level 4, another 10% will be just 10 joules in level 4. Level 5 will just be what? 1, only 1 joule. If you have level 5, you will just have what? 1 joule of energy. You have 1 joule of energy in level 5. You have 1 joule. So the reason why we don't normally have more than 4 or 5 is because only little energy okay, the reason is because only little energy is transmitted from or transferred from one level to the next. Little energy is transferred from one level to the next level. Transferred from one trophic level to the next trophic level. From one trophic level to the next. So let's see how many marks this carries, and then we know whether to add more points. Okay, 2 marks. So another point we can say, so the energy is lost, is almost exhausted by the time we get to the 4th or 5th. So energy in the biomass is almost exhausted. Energy in the biomass, energy in the biomass or in the system is almost exhausted, is almost exhausted as we go to the fourth and fifth. Exhausted as we get to the fourth and fifth trophic level. Trophic level. Trophic level. Okay, so that's for that question. Okay, let's only this question and then we end this part. Explain the advantage of presenting information about food web as a pyramid of biomass and not as pyramid of numbers. The advantage of presenting food web as pyramid of biomass and not pyramid of number. In pyramid of number, one large individual is shown in the same way as one very tiny individual. In pyramid of number, one large individual can be shown in the same way as tiny individual. So it does not really depict the amount of energy in terms of joule. But biomass indicates how much food is there is that is available or that is left. Biomass is an indicator of the energy available. So biomass is an indication of the availability of energy. So see Roman figure 4. So in numbers, pyramid of numbers, big and small are represented same way. Pyramid of numbers. So it doesn't really show the real energy quantity in the trophic level. So we say the big, small, as if they're same. Big, small are represented same way because you are just counting the numbers. You are not counting their mass. Okay, the mass is not really represented. So here represented same. So because if you have 5 elephants and 5 small grasses, they are represented same way. Okay, which does not really show the quantity by the energy they can offer to the system. Represented same in numbers, but in biomass it shows each energy that it has. So when we talk about pyramid of biomass, we are showing the energy in every trophic level quantified. So in pyramid of biomass is showing the energy in each organism or in each level. Showing the energy or mass. Shows the energy. So the pyramid of number or biomass shows the energy or mass. of the organism in the trophic level. Of the organism in each of the trophic level. Of the organism in each trophic level. In each trophic level. In each trophic level. So this is these are 2 points. We mentioned the first point about, we explained about the numbers, that the numbers, both the big organisms and in pyramid of numbers, both the big organism and the small organism, they just represented in the same way with the same block. But in pyramid of biomass, the blocks are drawn based on the amount of energy they contribute to the pyramid. Amount of energy they contribute to the pyramid, so we get our marks. So with this, we come to the end of this. Our part 2, we start from question 3. So part 1 was to address question 1 and question 2. Thank you very much for joining us.